beautiful day for variable if, else, and while loop. This material. If you are talking, our learning objective today is what are arithmetic operators and how to use them, what are the logical operators and how to use them, what are the relational operators and what value are considered true and false, and what are the Boolean operators and how to use them, and how to use the if-else statement. So operator, we have the positive operator. It has two operand. This A is an operand, this B is an operand. By the time we assign a value to this A and B, it gives us what? 40. And also this subtraction, it subtracts cells A and B. That is B from A. Then multiplies both operand. The multiplication operand multiply both operand A and B. If you assign values to this, it will give us what? The 400. While this division, it divide numerator by denominator, which is A divided by 2, and the modulo. This modulus, what? It takes the remainder. The remainder, that is B divided by A, will give us 0. And increment will increase, it will increase the operator or the integer to decrease the integer by 1. We have covered this in our previous class, so this is just a recap. So now this is an example of what we considered, which we'll not be looking at this morning. So we move to if statements. Now, the ability to control the flow of our program, let it make decision on what codes to execute, is vital to the programmer. That is, as a programmer, you need to make some decision, and the ability to control your program. The ability to control your program is very vital, very vital, and this can be done with the help of if statement. If statement. So the if statement allows you to control if a program enters a section of base, but or not but actual base, on whether a given condition is true or false. Now, with the help of if statement, allows our program to enter a sections of code or not, either words, to perform a particular function, or it should do conditions. So to set that condition, okay, probably if this condition is true, don't enter this particular code of line. And if this condition is false, okay, enter this particular condition, this particular code of line. So it depends on what we want to achieve. Now, another key important that you need to know, one of the important function of the if statement is that it allows programs to select an action based upon the user inputs. Based upon the user inputs. So, for example, by using an if statement to check a user enter password, your program can decide whether a user is allowed access to the program or not. Without a conditional statement, such as the if statement, programs will run almost exact same way every time. So without the help of if statement, we just discovered that the way we are writing our code is just one-way traffic. So for diversity, so to enter another body of code, so we use our if statement. Before taking a look at it, let us examine what the meaning of means in statement. It non evaluates to any number apart from is zero. Evaluates to what? To evaluates to is zero. First statement evaluates to is zero when it comes to what? When the statement is not true. When the statement is not true, it evaluates to zero. And when you perform comparison with the relational operators, the operator will return 1 if the comparison is true. That is, when you compare your program using relational operator, the output or the return evaluated is going to be 1 if it is true, either condition is true, or if the comparison is false, then it will return what? Is 0. It will return 0. Please, let's pay attention to this very well. When we perform comparison with the relational operator, the operator will return 1 if the comparison is true. Y is 0 if the comparison is false. So for example, let's check, is 0 equals to 4. This is 0 equals to 4. We know by what? By logical sense that what is 0 is not equals to 4. So this is a false statement. It is a false, is not true. And because it is not true, therefore it will evaluate to is 0. And if you also check for 4 equals to 4, we know this 4 equals to 4, it will evaluate to what? To 1, because it is a true statement. So we may try this. We may try it. Let's quickly try this with example. To test the false and true statements. We first declare our header file. You declare your entry points. And you declare your code block. So let me paste what I copied. So with this, let us see what will it return. We are asked what? To print this percentage D, which is known as format specified. I'm going to save this file. Let me say we will. Can we see it returns 0, false. To the return to be evaluated as what? To 0. So to tell us that what is to 1. So let's 2 equals to it. the relation of the left is true, they are true. This aspect when programming they require to determine whether larger, small equal something that is out of whether able that is large or is what equal. This is what example of our relational operator. Yeah, we use one of it here, relational operator. Another not equal. Let me just take in this person. Equals to but as it is now, A when evaluated, when it compare with B, A is not greater than B. Therefore, it is what? It is not true. And when it is not true, the evaluated value is going to be 0. Now, we move to the another what? Relational operator, which is what? Less than. This also check both the left and the right operand. If the A is less than B, if A is less than B, then that will be true. And if A is not less than B, then that will be false. So it's also check for the comparison, whether this is lesser than this. Now, this is what? Greater than or equals to. This one checks the value of the left operand, whether it is greater than or is equals to this A, whether it is greater than B or is equals to B. And looking at it, A is not greater than B and A is not equals to B. Therefore, it is not true. So this condition here that we have set, it is not true. And that would be what is 0. But if I should put my A here, now, actually, we know that A is not greater than A, but A is equals to A. So this condition is true in as much as what? One of it is true. In as much as what? In this this relational operator that we're having here, actually when we test for A is greater than A, that condition is false. But when it comes to A equals to A, it is true. So A is equals to A. At least one of the condition has been satisfied here. In as much as it has been satisfied, then we say it is true. But what we have there is B. We have B, so this condition is not true. It's not true. Now, when it comes to less than or equals to, it checks if the value of the left operand is less than or equals to the value of the right operand. So if yes, then the condition becomes true. This, if A is less than or equals to B, then it becomes true. So we move to the next one. Now, This is what example. Example to understand all the relational operator. So we want to set our, first let's declare a variable. So let's declare a variable A, and we initialize it with 41 and we terminate it. We also initialize variable B and let's put 30 and we terminate it. Now we want to set our if conditional statement. If A is if this A is greater than this B, dot something. This is a statement. This for condition. This is your condition, and is to compare A with B. If A is greater than E, you should print something for us. You should print, whenever it wants to print a string, we put a double quote. So you should print A is greater than B. I'm going to introduce my new line, and I will terminate this. We also test, but before that, let's quickly run this and let us see what it's going to print. So it printed what? A is greater than B. A is greater than B because the condition is true. If this condition is what? Is false. Is false. It will not print this. It will not print anything out. Let's check it. So it's printed nothing out because that condition is not true. Is not true. But if I want it to print something else, okay, if this condition is not true, if it is not true, then we don't leave our code empty because it's a comparison. We are comparing between what? Two conditions, whether it is true or it is false. So in as well as this is not true and is not printing this out, so you should be able to print another thing else. So that will lead us to what? Else or else if, which I'm going to introduce later in this lesson, which I'm going to introduce. So, all right. So, okay, I think it's time to introduce it here. Okay, let me introduce it here. So, likewise, else, if you are using else, you don't set the condition. You don't set the condition as we have set it this way. So we only what? Give a statement of what to do. Only give a statement. In as much as what A is not greater than B, so A is not greater than B, then yeah, what should it do? If this condition is not true, then this condition must be true. And what should we print? That A. Okay, so let me change this. I don't know now. Let me reduce the figure here. Our variable, our value, let me reduce to 21. So that's going to negate this and comes to this side. So here, A is greater than B. So at this if else, so it's going to print A is not greater than B. And we put it's not greater than this B. The value of A is 21, the value of B is 30. So 21 is not greater than 30. So it's going to come to this second line of code. And so let's give it a try. Okay, I did not terminate my function there. So A is not greater than B. 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 So looking at this, it was because this condition is not true. A is not greater than B. So it couldn't print this, but come to this second condition and test. Okay, else, then A is not greater than B. So he printed this out. The way our code works is that it reads line by line. The compiler will read line by line. It will come here. What is the value of A? Okay, it's 21. And put the 21 here. You put the 21 here. Okay, this is what relational operator greater than. Okay, what is the value of B? It will come here. The value of B is 30. And put 30 here. We will now ask, is 21 greater than 30? If 21 is greater than 30, then it's going to print this out. We give this statement, and which we know that our 21 is not greater than 30. So this condition is false. And this, as much as it is false, it will not print this. It's going to skip this statement and come to the what? To the second conditional statement and check, okay, else, then 21 is not greater than 30. So it's going to print this. And that is by that. Now, as it is now, it is also possible to introduce, to have what we call what? Else if. Because we can test more than what? More than one condition. It's possible for us to test more than what? One condition. So now I've tested with greater than A greater than B. So, but before I move to else statements, let me use all the relational operator. Let me use them and to see how it works. So if A is equals to B, if A is equals to B, then we give it a statement of what to do. So it should print for us A is equal to B. A is equals to B. Else we also give a statement here, print A is not equal to B. Is not equal to B. So that is another condition. So that means we'll be having two outputs here because it will check for it there. So let's see. So can we see that A is not greater than B and A is not equals to B? Is not equals to B. Now it tested for this. This condition is not true. Therefore, it skip this line of statements and move to the second condition and print this out. Afterwards, this is how to use what your greater than sign to compare between two operand. Then the second if, this is also what a relational operator that tested if A is equals to B. And if A is equals to B, if this condition is true, it's going to print this out. A is equals to B. And if the condition is false here, it will come to this second condition and print this. A is not equals to B. And whereas we know that 21 is not equals to 30. So definitely this condition is not true. Therefore, it will not print this and printed this out. So that's what we have. So having done the greater than relational operator, the equals to relational operator, also let's use another relational operator, which we are going to use what less than. A less than B. So if A is less than B, then should print A is less than B. It's less than B. Else print A is not less than B. So let's study this. We know that what 21 is less than 30. Definitely it should print this out, that A is less than B, which this statement is true. In as much as this statement is true, it will print this and it will not check for this. It will not test this. In as much as it has fulfilled the condition here and it's true. So it's going to stop there and it will not check for this second condition. So let's see. So A is less than B. A is less than B, which the condition is what? The condition is true. We know that what 21 is less than B. So it printed this out. A is less than B. Now we have used less than, we've used equals to, we've used greater than. So the next thing we need to also use to test how our relational operator works is to also test for greater than or equals to. So A is greater than or equals to B. So if A is greater than or equals to B, then you should print A is, let me first make it false. Okay. All right. No, it should be true. A is not greater than, but is equal equal to, sorry, what am I saying? Okay, A is not greater than B, which we know 21 is not greater than B. But A is less than. Let me change this to less than first. Because of this condition I want to say. So A is not greater than, okay, sorry, A is, okay, this will be A is less than. All right, let me change it back to greater than. Or, okay, let me change the value. Let me change the value here because of what I want to set. So in this case, I change my value of A to be from 21 to 41. Let me change it to 41. So I terminate it. So that means I can now use my greater than sign here, that A is greater than B, but not equal to B, but not equals to B. So looking at this, 41, we know 41 is greater than B, but is not equals to B. So that is why I put this conditional, this statement, A is greater than B, but not equals to B. Else, the other condition, else print A is not, that is, if this condition is not true, if it is not true, then it's going to print A is not greater than B, and not equal, okay, let me put, and, okay, it's not greater than B, but equal to B. So looking at this, we said A is not greater than B, which is true. 41 is not greater than 30 here, is true. But but A is equals to B. Now let's look at it. This condition, is it true that what? A is equals to B? This condition is not true. Because for it to print this now, number one, we say, well, A is greater than B, but not equals to B. This is the right condition. And coming here now, A is not greater than B, which is false. And okay, let me put it this way. And A is equals to B. And which you know that what A here is not also what? Is not also equals to B. Therefore, it shouldn't print this out, but it's going to print this out for us. So let's check it. So A is greater than B, but not equals to B. But not equals to B. A is greater than B, but not equals to B. Now, it printed this out. A is greater than B, but not equals to B. Why? Because this condition is true. A is greater than B, and this A is not equals to B. So it's true. So it's going to print this out. Now, let me test for less than or equals to. If A is less than or equals to B. So in that case, I need to change this value as well because I want to make A and B to be equal here. Therefore, let me change the value of A here again to be 30. To be 30. So we know A, which is what? This 41 is not what? Less than B. But this A here, which is what? 30. Okay, sorry. Since I've changed the value, so it's going to pick this. It's no longer what have any relationship with this again because I've changed the value here, the value of the variable. So we know that what 30 is not less than this 30. The 30 we are making reference to here is this 30 we have declared here. This 30 here that we have declared. So it's still picking the value of B here because I have not modified the value of B. But at this level, I've modified the value of A. So it's going to pick the value of A from here and pick the value of this B from up. Likewise, I've modified the value of A again to be 30. So it's going to pick the 30 and compare. Is 30 less than 30 here? Which is no. Okay, if that is not true, then what of is 30 equals to 30, which is true. So in as much as what one of these relational operator is true, therefore it's going to perform this for us. It's going to print whatever we set here. Whatever we want it to print, it's going to print it for us by saying what? A is not less than B, but A is equal, but A is equal to B. Then we put our new line. Else print A is less than B and and A is equal to B. So A is not less than B, but A is equals to B. A equals to B. So he printed this out. A is not less than B, but is equals to B. Why? Because this condition is true. This condition is true. Now, I think, all right. So I think lastly, under this relational operator, if A not equals to B, if A not equals to B, then it should print A is not equal to B, not equals to B. Else print A is equal to B. Now let's look at this. You know that what 30 here will be what is equals to the 30, that is this b, the value of b, which is 30, where that we declared over there. Now, I will now say what this a, which is 30, is not equals to b. We know this statement is false. It's a false statement. So a is not equals to b. The false statement. So that a is not equals to b. So a is not equals to b, else a is equals to b. So this is just testing. Is a, if a is not equals to b, then you should print this out, that a is not equals to b. And if this condition is true, then you should print this out, that a is equals to b. So let's see, which one will you print? So a is equals to b. A is equals to b. We printed out that a is equals to b. Why? You know, our value of a here, which we have modified from here, is 30. And our b, which is also 30 from up, the value of b, which is 30 from up. So this condition say that what? 30 here is not equals to this 30. That is, a here is not equals to a. So this statement is false. In as much as it is not true, it's going to skip this line of code and come here and print that. So we have able to cover using equal sign. We've also using what? Lesser than sign, greater than. We've also used what? Less than or equals to, less than or greater than, greater than or equals to. And that is about that. So this does not cover the not operator. So that is a bonus for us because it's not in this material. Now, we've also covered this by what? Also comparing. So we've covered that. So now, the basic syntax of if statement. Actually, I've explained this from what I just did now. That the structure of an if statement is as follows. If this is what statement is true, it's going to execute this line of code. That is, example is less than an emphasis. Let us forget about this. So it's going to print what? 6 is less than 10 if this condition is true. That is, if this statement is true, this statement here is true, it will print this. All right, let's move to the next one. Note, to have more than one statement execute after an if statement that evaluates to true, use braces like this, which we use in our code. This is the braces. It is called what? The curly braces. The first one is called the opening braces, that is opening curly braces, while this last one is called what? The closing curly braces. So each time you open a curly braces, you must close it. It must have a closing part. So we need to pay attention to that. So when it evaluates to true, so use braces. Anything inside braces is called a compound statement or a block of code. Now, starting from after the entry point, down. This is the closing here. So everything here like this, inside that opening and closing, is called what? Compound statement, or we call
from afar. He says if we run
to execute another conditional code. And for us to what? To execute another conditional code, we have to what? Introduce our else statement. We have to introduce our else statement. So we have to introduce our else statement when the code executes to be true. Therefore, else statement is very important for this, that is, for any of our program. Else effectively says that whatever code after it should be what? Executed if the if statement is false. That is, if this if statement here is false. If it is false, then this should be what? Executed. That is, anything after this else should be executed. Because this here is false, anything after it will not be executed. It's going to be ignored and come to this else and execute it. Now, the else if. We also have what we call what? Else if. Another use of else is when there are multiple conditional statements that may be evaluated to be true. Multiple conditional statements that may be evaluated to be true, yet you want only one if statement body to be executed. You know, at times there are some statements, in fact, that all the statements are true, but actually you just want one conditional statement to be what? You just want what? One conditional statement to be executed, to be executed. So in that case, we are going to introduce what? Else if. Else if will be introduced. Let me repeat this.
everything about
you
us.
Want only one
that,
if statement body to be executed.
It's almost
okay.
A surrender.
Multiple conditional statements may evaluate to true.
Yet, to acknowledge the fact,
though all the is the essence of what? Else if. So you can use else if statement following an if statement and its body. Following, that is, this else if will follow your if statement. It will follow your if statement. That is, after we set our if statement here, then we'll come here. What should follow it is what? If else should follow it. If else should follow it. That is what they are trying to pass across. So after that, and its body, we've known about what the body is. That way, if the first statement is true, the else if will be ignored. If this statement is true, then this else if will be ignored. But in other way, if this is not true, then this will be executed. That is, will be evaluated and will be executed. So if the first statement is true, the else statement will be ignored. But if the if statement is false, it will then check the condition for the else if statement. If the if statement was true, the else statement will not be what? Be checked. It is possible to use numerous else if statements to ensure that what only one block of code is executed. That is, we can have more than what if, else if. We can have more than one else if. So to test, we can have that. So let's continue. So if the if statement was true, the else statement will be what? Checked. If the if statement was not true, the else statement will be checked. If it is possible to use numerous if statements to ensure that what only one code block is what block of code is executed. So let's look at this example. I'm opening a new file, #include stdio.h, which is our header file. We are using this header file because the function known as our printf function, we are calling the printf function, which we want it to perform a particular job for us, has been defined in this header file, has been defined in it. So let's have our value, a variable. Let me use I this time around, I, and initialize it to be 20. Then I terminate it. Let me also introduce another variable j and initialize it to be 30. So if I is equals to j, so we are only testing for one condition. For one variable, we are only declaring one variable. If I equals to 20, it should do something for us. So it should print I is equal to 20. Okay, let's do it this way. Let it print the value of I. To print the value of I. So if is to print the value of I, and because the value of I, the data type for this value of this I is int, because it is an integer, therefore we use the %d as our format specifier. Then let's have our new line. Where is the value coming from? The value is coming from what? From this variable I. Therefore we use what? We call our I here and we terminate it. So else if I is equals to 30, we should print value of I, %d, your new line, your comma. After your comma, you put space, and where the variable is coming from I. And you now come here, else. When it comes to else, you don't set the condition. You don't put the condition. You just come here and declare what you want it to print. What you want it to print. Put your new line, your comma, space, and I. So let's see which one. We say if this condition is true, it will evaluate this. If this condition is not true, it will now come to the second else if, it will come to this second line and check. If it is true, it will print this out. And if this is also not true, it will come here, check it if it is true, and we print this out. And we know the value of I is 20. So we expect it to print this. We expect it to print this. So let's check. Okay, I did not terminate my function there. So it's printed what? 20. It's printed what? This first line of statement because this is true. So we print the value of the 20 for us. So I want to change this 20. Let me make it 30 here. Let me make it 30 and make this 20. So let us see. If this condition is true, so it should print this statement for us. And else, if it is not true, it will come here and print the value of 20 here. I want to see if I can have something to differentiate it. Let me check my... Okay. Let me write it in words. Print the... Okay. The value of A is 30. In as much as I've make it in sentence, so I don't need this again. I don't need that again. I'm changing this in as much I want to write in text, so I don't need, well, I need my new line here. Let me put my new line here. So we are going to have the value of A is 20. Is 20. Else, yeah, we'll be having the value of A. The value of A will be what? Let's say not 20. It's not 20. All right, so This is fine. We prove to us to actually check if it actually picked this 20. If this 20, if I here is equals to 20, it should print this out. Else, if I equals to 20, so we expect it to print this out because we know I has been set to 20, which is true. So it will print this out. All right, the value of A is 20. So it comes to this what? To this line of code and printed this out. Now I want to set this again. I want to change it. Let me change this to 40. To 40. So it's going to come to this line. The value of A is 40. And print this out. So let's test that. So we have the value of A is not 20. That is what I put here. It's not 20. So let me correct that. So it's whatever that you put here that is going to print out for you. In as much as what you have set this condition and it's true. So the value of A is 20. So this is how this thing work. This is how it work. The if, the else if, and the what, and the else. Then we've talked about relational operator, also how it work. We've looked at that. Now, this is what we were trying to do yesterday. So let's quickly look at that. But before I move to that, let me quickly talk about Boolean operators. Boolean operators. So far now, we've looked at arithmetic operator. We've looked at relational operator. Now, we've also looked at when the condition is true or false. Then this is what's it called? Boolean operators. So let us see how this also work. Boolean operators allow you to create more complex conditional statements. For example, if you wish to check if a variable is both greater than 5 and less than 5, you want to check whether a variable, that is one variable, is both greater than 5 and less than 5. Let me bring it to our level. Okay, you want to check your own height, whether you are taller than Mr. A and Mr. B. That is what you are testing. Whether you are taller than Mr. A or you are taller than, and you are taller than Mr. B. You can also test whether you are taller than Mr. A or Mr. A is taller than you. That is between two people. When it comes to between three people, that is you, Mr. A and Mr. B, then the AND operator will come in. You are checking your own height with Mr. A and B. But when it comes to what? Only two people, that means what? The or operator will come in. You are checking your height, whether you are taller than Mr. A or Mr. A is taller than you, or you are taller than Mr. A or you are shorter than Mr. A. So depending on what you want to test, but it's just what? In two variable. Now, you could use the Boolean and to ensure both variable is greater than 5 and also what? Less than 10 are true. The actual C symbol are not or. We don't use it this way and not. No, this is not C symbol. This is just what? An English symbol. Although they are of equivalent function. Actually, they perform the same function. So does not, but we don't take this when it comes to C language symbol. When using if statements, you will often wish to check the multiple different conditions. You must understand the Boolean operators or and. You need to understand this very well. Now, the Boolean operators function in a similar way of comparison that we just finished now. When we are talking of comparison, we are talking of relational operator, or you call it what? Comparison operator. They are still the same thing. So each returns is 0 if evaluates to false, or 1 if evaluates to true, which we have explained that. When does it evaluate to 1 and when does it evaluate to 0? When it is true, it evaluates to 1, and when it is false, it evaluates to 0, which we have done. Now, notes. Let's take note of this notes. The not operator accepts one input. It accepts one input. If the input is true, it returns false. And I want us to pay attention to this not because it's very trickish. So we pay attention to that not. The not operator expects one input. It's just what? Expect one input. If that condition is true, it returns false. Please, I will repeat this aspect again. The not operator only accepts one input. That's number one. Number two, if that input is true, if it is true, then it will return false. It doesn't work as this order that we have discussed worked. It doesn't work that way. It works in reverse order. It works in reverse order. If the input is true, then your return, that is your evaluated return, should be false. And when the input is false, the return evaluated value will be true. So if return, it's return false. And if that input is false, it's return true. So just take note of that. For example, not 1 we evaluate to 0, and not 0 we evaluate to 1. Not any number but 0 evaluates to 0. That's it. Theory and theory. Boolean operators. Boolean operators allow you to create more complex conditional statements. For example, if you wish to check if a variable is both greater than 5 and less than 10, you could use the Boolean AND to ensure both variable is greater than 5 and variable is less than 10 are true. So the actual symbol for or and not in C language are not this. This is acceptable in English language, but they work equivalently or they perform the same function. So the symbol for our or operator is this what? This exclamation mark is the exclamation mark. Going to attempt to that. So we attempt to that if I'm doing the example to that question. Now we said the not operator, it work in reverse order. It work in reverse order. If the input is true, then the evaluated result will be false. That is 0. And if the input is true, if the input is false, it will evaluate to true, and that will be 1. So it works what? In reverse order. Now let's move to the AND operator. And so this is another important command. The AND returns true if both inputs are true. If both inputs are true, the AND operator what? Returns true. That is, the two have to be true. For each only one. In as much as what? One condition is not true, then it's going to return what? Is 0. It's going to return 0. It will return 0. In as much as both conditions are not true. So the symbol for AND operator is this. In C language, we use the double ampersand. We call it ampersand. Double ampersand. Now, let's move to the OR operator. The OR, very useful as well. The very useful is the OR statement. If either or both of the two values is checked are true, then it returns true. That is, 1 or is 0 evaluates to 1. We are talking of OR. Just one condition is enough for it to return true for us. And in as much as what one condition is true, then it's going to return what? That is going to evaluate to true. But if both conditions, and that is, if none of the condition is true, then it's going to what? Evaluate is 0 for us. And the symbol for the AND is this. The symbol for the AND is this or pipe. We use double pipe for it. We use double pipe for it. Double pipe. So those are the pipe characters on your keyboard. All right, let's forget about that. Probably you don't know where it is. Just anyway, you figure it out. Now, note, let's pay attention to this. It is possible to combine several Boolean operators in a single statement. Several Boolean operators in a single statement. Often, you will find doing so to be able to be of great value when creating complex expression for if statements. That is why I'm having this. Now, what does this thing mean? It means, now let's first consider the brackets. We have one and is 0. 1 and is 0. Let's look at this statement. This statement, 1 and is 0, we know this is false. Not 1. We just need to consider these aspects. This aspect, not 1 or 1. So this will evaluate to be 0. So I'll pause the video so I can get